that you only get to hear after you're done recording. So yeah, it just makes it hella awkward. Shock the Clock podcast with your boy Jazzy Jess and special guest Cherry, who
Ooh.
I'm meeting for the second time on the podcast within the hour. So for those who don't know, yeah, we
Technology
yeah,
isn't for everyone. That's all it
it's
is.
not for everyone. We
It's not.
recorded a whole episode, a whole 1 hour
A whole
episode,
fire episode at that, I might
a whole bomb ass episode,
say.
that, and then lost it. You know
Yes,
why?
one.
Because we are lost. We are a
Indeed,
lost generation.
we must change.
We must change our
We must
ways.
fix it.
But yeah, it's so painful. Recorded like such fire content, such a really dope episode, and then capiche. But
Yep.
one thing I know is that Jerry and I are never short of data.
There's plenty.
Data that we have. Conversation we have. The problem is actually keeping it under certain time limits. It's like that's
Yes,
honestly the
that's where we
struggle.
struggle.
That's where we struggle. We struggle
Yeah.
with being great. We struggle with containing our greatness, basically. Don't mean
You
to
know
show
what
off.
it is? When your greatness is just that tough, it just overflows. We're
It
busting
overflows.
veins with greatness. That's what it is. And you know what?
Like,
It's not something I'm gonna apologize for.
no, no,
Let me
no.
be.
Exactly. No,
Mhm.
we'll let you be great. Even in the previous podcast, I brought up how uh, the first time Cherry and I ever had like a sit down,
Mhm.
it was really dope because we're there talking, chatting, and I was steady just gleaning a lot of insight and wisdom from Cherry. And she didn't even know that I'm there sitting almost like being a
Sponge.
student of sorts. Yeah, just being a sponge and
Mhm.
absorbing. Listen to you just just flexing. You a sponge in my presence. See, you you were just there being a sponge in my presence. Yeah, I know.
It happens. It happens.
It happened.
No, but for real,
No,
like, I didn't even realize that's what was happening. I thought I was just running my mouth because, like, when I start, it's hard to stop. So I thought, yeah, I'm just talking. He hasn't stopped me, so it's fine. I'm gonna keep
no.
going. I had no idea.
I think it was one of those things where you say something,
Mm-hmm.
and for me, I'm caught in like a self-reflective or self-reflection moment.
Mm-hmm.
And even if I'm still absorbing and listening to what he is still saying, but my
Yeah.
mind, half of like my brain is still like damn, damn, what does that mean? I'm like really trying to work the other thing that has really caught my mind and stuff like that. So it was one of those things where like, and like even that time, if you noticed, we ran out of time really, because I
Yeah.
think you had to rush for like a session,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and I was stuck there like, ha. I'm not really rushing for anything, but I have to look busy. Yeah, no, I'm actually also on my way to a meeting, so
Wow.
I'll catch you on the other side. Of course, I got shit to do. You think I am unemployed? Which I
Just out
was.
here sponging on everything.
And I'm just sponging on everything. What do I look like? Um, but no, it was really dope. And but before we even head into that, dude,
What's up?
how are you?
Present.
Yep.
I'm present. I feel
That's
like
good.
that is the most realistic, honest response I can give. I am present. I am
I
as
I
present
feel
as I can
given
be.
the time, I feel given the times,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with being present.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think we sometimes are too harsh on ourselves. We
You
want to
think?
be present and alive. I'm telling you, we want to be present and alive and doing it and getting it and achieving it and whatnot. But I think at times life just requires you to be present, dude.
Yeah.
Coming to find, there's nothing wrong with being present. There's nothing wrong with, given certain contexts, there's nothing wrong with existing. And I hate existing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I've come to find that it says, looking at what we've been through and what we're going through, like even just as a nation right now,
Yeah.
it's like at times exist.
It's okay to just
It's not a
exist.
permanent state.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't make it a permanent state, but exist, be present,
Yeah.
absorb, give out, and
Hmm.
then
You know
you-
what it's funny you say that? I one of the last classes I had before like everything shut down, one of the
Mhm,
last yoga classes I had, the meditation around that class was being comfortable in your comfort zone, right?
mm,
Because we're
mm,
always looking at the comfort zone as, a bad place. Like no
yeah,
progression happens, like nothing positive comes from a comfort zone. But
yeah,
you find rest in your comfort zone. You
exactly,
recalibrate when you're
yeah,
comfortable. You are able to reassess when you're comfortable. When you're always searching or reaching or aiming for the next level or the next thing, when do
hmm,
you rest? Because once you
mm,
get that next thing, there's another next thing that you're going to want. There's another thing that you
exactly,
have to achieve, that you have to have, that you have to have
exactly,
gained. When do you rest and where do you rest? Isn't
yeah,
it in your comfort zone?
it is actually.
Yeah, so
That actually,
why are we so obsessed with shaming the comfort zone? It's called comfort.
I think you're speaking to this generation, right?
Mm,
And generation, unfortunately, is trying to live in other people's comfort zones except our own.
mm,
What,
mm,
we are actually trying to create other people's comfort zones except our own. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Um, Mainly because you're looking at what's happening on the outside, what other people are doing and whatnot, and we absorb and consume so much. Well, on our socials, on our statuses and whatnot, we absorb and
Mm-hmm,
consume so much. And so,
mm-hmm,
because of that, even when we're trying to sort of mold and shape our own comfort zones, it's not even looking like a comfort zone because it's not looking like that person's comfort zone. And
exactly.
I'm saying that because you think about it,
Mm-hmm,
look at how stunting on social media is like it's so uniform. Like you get on social media, right? You notice the
mm-hmm,
trends, and all of a sudden you know what you have to do to look a certain way. You know what the
mm-hmm,
cool look. If I pause like this, if I do this, if I post my food like this, if I
mm-hmm,
post this and this routine,
mm-hmm.
then I'm doing it right. I'm doing social media right. You know what I mean, right? And so you're sort of creating yep, you're creating a comfort zone. You're creating a space. You know
True.
what I mean?
Yeah.
But the question is that space tailored to you specifically?
Yeah.
Is
And
it
that's the
tail
thing about
is it actually curated to you as an individual? Is this really your space?
is it where you need to be?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's like a very strong and valid statement, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I know such thoughts for me that led me to like depression a number of times where
Mm-hmm.
like finding myself in spaces and places where I sort of have to act a certain type of way or behave a certain type of way just because that's the behavior pattern around the individuals, you know what I mean, who are in and around those circles, if I can put it that way. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Like the
Um,
people who've been labeled as made it or making it, like what are they surrounding themselves with?
and
Yeah.
sometimes even just beyond making it, just like
Mm-hmm.
the individuals, you know how like sometimes you find yourself, especially I think like in my early 20s, you find
Mm-hmm.
yourself in certain circles and individuals and spheres of influence, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not really a made it type thing, but it's just this is how these people act.
Therefore, I must. Yep. I get it.
Therefore, yeah, yeah.
Totally
So
get it.
I it's one of those things where like one of the best things I feel has happened to me. over the past couple of years
Mm-hmm.
is fully understanding my direction towards purpose. Purpose,
Ooh.
which I'm still grasping um, in its entirety, because I've discovered purpose is progressive. Like it's not one thing. You know
Mm-mm.
what I mean?
Mm.
But the happiest moment for me was when I think I could feel that like I've peeled back the first layer of purpose, and now I'm on the right path. Like this is where I'm actually supposed. I was supposed to be headed this direction this whole time. That for me is like one of the greatest things that has ever happened to me. Why? It's like having a compass in your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So like you finally wake up every day and you know exactly where you're supposed to be headed. There's nothing more beautiful than that. I've come to find.
that is actually quite deep. Like, first of all, purpose being progressive. You would think
Mhm.
logically that's, but
That
that's,
is one thing.
yeah,
That
that
like
it's,
my purpose is to play basketball and that's it. But
yeah,
dude, there's an expiry date on that.
you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
there's a whole process you have to go to. So,
Yeah.
purpose is progressive. Okay, Jesse.
Hey
Okay,
man,
Jazzy.
this is Shock
All right,
O'Clock
man. Excuse
podcast.
you. Well,
Um,
I didn't
no,
think I'd
so
be coming on for a philosophy lesson, but thanks.
hey man, and I'll tell you some of the things that have sort of contributed towards that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's also in the understanding that if you see how we live our lives, right? I'll bring it to the Zambian context. I think we've been, and we were discussing something similar to this in the previous thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I said, things like religion, things like culture,
Mm-hmm.
they've sort of given us this dormant, passive take on things, this very uniform things. I think because of you're colonialized for the longest time,
Yeah.
that definitely is going to affect your thinking
Mm-hmm.
and how you view progression. So for the longest time, progression is viewed it's very linear. It's very much shaped by a certain way of thinking. It's very much influenced by a certain group of individuals,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and so you keep that in mind. Even your, let's say, career options, they are very, if it's not in this bracket, then it's in this bracket. If it's not this, then it's
Yep.
this. You know what I mean? It's
Mm-hmm.
almost like it's all chosen for you. Now, how possible is it for you to see purpose when everything else is chosen for you? When everything else is like it's standard. Imagine how difficult it must be for an individual in a third world, in a landlocked third world country in the middle of sub-Saharan Africa to actually see purpose. You know what I mean? To see like their actual purpose. And so what starts to take that place and what we start to find comfort in?
Uh,
Religion. It's easy for just the blanket religion. I'm not talking about faith, spirituality. I'm talking about just religion. It's easy for it
yeah.
to sort of start to like take these shapes and forms that start to look like that's your purpose. And it's in the easiest context. It's easy just to, you can even believe my purpose is good. What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude.
No, I totally get you. Like, even like if we're talking about like the religious concept, even just finding your I'm not gonna use the word purpose, but finding your place in church. Like when you join the church, normally they'll
Mm,
tell you
mm,
what ministry are you joining, like which part of the church you're going to get involved in, and
yeah,
church they all have the same boxes.
yeah,
That it's like the church system isn't aware or doesn't is not open to the fact that they're individuals
yes,
in the church.
yes.
And I'm always someone who's believed that religion as well is progressive, or rather faith
Mm,
is right.
mm, mm-hmm,
So the Bible was written way back when, but it applies today. It doesn't apply the exact same way, but it
Mm,
applies today. So it's progressed with time. So then
yes,
why can't the gifts that were promised in the Bible be progressive as well? Like,
mm,
how is the ministry of song literally just singing?
yeah,
How
exactly.
is the ministry of tongues speaking in tongues as opposed to being able to speak in a way that makes everyone comfortable or speak in a way that speaks to everyone?
Exactly, exactly. And
Yeah.
that's so solid. Have you seen how that sort of ties into what we were speaking about when it comes to understanding of culture?
Yeah.
Where I was saying when your history has been erased, it's very difficult to see beyond the fact that you were the firsts. You invented paper,
Hmm.
you were mathematicians, you
Hmm.
had medicine, you had
Yeah.
spirituality. You can't
Hmm.
acknowledge the fact that Jesus Christ, his first tour was in Northern Africa.
Hmm.
Dude was in Egypt. You know
Hmm.
what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, the Ethiopian eunuch brought the gospel here way
Hmm.
back when, and even before Jesus, Sheba had an
Yeah.
encounter with Solomon. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
it speaks to our spirituality. In Africa, we have always been very spiritual people. We have always known our God. We have always known our Creator. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Even before someone came and said, "I've introduced you to Jesus," and I've introduced, and this is the Victoria Falls. I'm the one who's founded, so I'm going to name it
Hmm.
Victoria because Queen Victoria. And this is Mungo Park, and he's discovered the. I'm still going back and forth over this one. Did you discover
Yeah.
the Niger River, the Niger Delta, or is it did you discover Niger? Well, which three?
Isn't it Niger Delta?
Okay, you didn't discover Niger. Okay, cool.
No, I
Uh,
mean we could discover Nigel, but hey.
you discovered Niger apparently. I'm gonna bring this
Yeah,
one up.
but I'm up for it.
I'm 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 gonna bring this one up. I'm gonna come back to it. Just put a little tab here.
Okay.
Cherry discovered Nigel. I'll come back to this in a second. But yeah, so understanding our history,
Uh-huh.
our understanding that our history was won deliberately,
Mhm.
and our culture, a lot of aspects of our culture were tampered with by colonialists. Understanding that simple fact can help us first of all find our husa and then start to build and say, okay, what we need to fix is these and these elements because when this person came, in order for them to tamper with this, they did
Mhm.
away with this, and then they said, let's keep them subdued using this. Let's use education, let's use
Mhm.
religion,
Mhm.
let's use politics and policy.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, in order for us to sort of like have a better gravity towards where we need to be headed,
Mhm.
uh, it's very important, I guess, for us to check those boxes and say, yo, what's going on in here? What's going on in education? Why the heck am I still doing head, thorax, abdomen? What the heck is going on in policy?
Thorax abdomen.
I'm telling you. Uh-huh.
But I
You know?
think the only way we're going to get to that point is
Mm,
if we have actual change makers with defiant spirits and not greedy ones.
that's true. Um,
Because like
that's
if you look at the history of African leadership, or let me not even go that far. If you look at the history of Zambian leadership,
yeah.
where did things start going wrong is when greed was evident, greed was clear.
Mm,
So
mm,
I think when you have someone in power who is more defiant,
yeah.
defiant against the systems that have been there for generations, I think we need someone who would be willing to question a whole
Yes.
bunch of things, someone who's not afraid to be the bad guy for the
Yeah.
sake of progress. I mean, look at
That's true.
the Rwandan president. Like, dude
Oh yeah.
is scary. Dude is
Oh yeah.
scary.
Oh yeah.
But
People go
how much
missing.
has he brought into the country? You know what I mean? Like people are going missing like dead ass. But how much has Rwanda grown.
Yeah, if they look at their
Did you ever
development,
think in your life you would hear
yeah,
that is Africa, Singapore? I'd say, you lying, please.
you see.
The lies we tell. But look at Rwanda.
But look at it right now. No, that's facts.
Yeah, so
That's
I think we
facts.
need a defiant spirit, not a greedy one.
That's true. I
Mm-hmm.
was having a discussion with a friend today, and I said, dude, if they stripped away the salaries and allowances and said, serve your communities, who would want to join politics?
Very few.
Very few.
Very few.
That move alone, like if they actually made it about serving the people,
Mm-hmm. I mean, made it what it should be.
like you said, I feel to a certain degree, look, human nature will always be human nature, but I feel there are more progress oriented young people in this generation who are doing better for themselves. It's just that greed, greed is a very big deal. But
It is.
I honestly have hope for like our people, our generation.
Mm-hmm.
I have hope because I say that because at one point Alexander the Great was going to like just take over the world. You know, right now, America, then China. No empire lasts forever. So
True.
there will be a point in time at which, if you view things through the lens of time,
Mm-hmm.
the time will come when, like, okay, now it's Africa's turn. I feel so. It's just a matter of time. We might not even be here to experience that, but that's why we have to do our podcast now. They will need this information and whatnot.
But you know what? I think Africa is at an impasse. Africa is at a crossroads. I
Hmm.
think um, a lot of a lot of the progress or a lot of the changes could be powered by our generation. Yeah, true.
Yeah,
But also our generation is also very impatient.
that's true.
So I don't
But
know how much of our generation understands or can see the value in
yeah,
100 kwacha in 5 days as
yeah.
opposed to 10 kwacha today.
But you see, and that's why I'm saying that unfortunately is in every generation. I was having I had a long chat with my dad. I'm glad I recorded that conversation. And he was saying, our generation was impatient the time when Kaunda came into power. We wanted things quick, fast.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted things to happen like that, like that, like that. And he was trying to put in place all these policies and whatnot, but we were not having it. And that's how the food riots started. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And he broke down how the food riots started in the 70s and how things progressed into the 80s and whatnot. He broke down a lot of things. And I was like, damn. So, like, you're actually telling me that you were also facing the same problem that I'm saying we are facing. It's like, yeah, it's nothing new. It's like, I'm not even surprised. He said, the, he, he said, your generation is being spoon fed with some of these.
Must we keep going through these cycles?
Pardon?
Through these cycles. Are these cycles necessary?
Yeah, and that's the thing. It
Mm.
because and that's why I keep calling it human nature. I don't know if I'm calling it human nature simply to comfort us or to comfort myself,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know what else it is. We would need obviously someone who's got a bit more know-how. You know what I mean? But bruh, this is it keeps because look, these people, right, are led out of Egypt by miracles. And the moment they hit dry ground after seeing a Red Sea part, we're hungry, Moses. Sat, you should have taken us back, Buddha. Okay. The fuck?
You straight from real niggas.
The fuck? These niggas.
Yeah.
These niggas. You know what I mean? But and so that speaks to the core of human nature. It's just so
Mm-hmm.
messed up. There's something amazing that Jesus did before he left. Something that I've never forgotten ever since it was pointed out for me.
Mm-hmm.
He sits down with his I call them the 12 niggas of doom. Um these 12 niggas, and he tunes um, do this in remembrance of me, right?
Mm.
The fact that he says that, you have to listen to what he's not saying. He's saying, you are some forgetful MFs. Oh my goodness. The moment I bounce, you will forget. The moment I'm out, you will forget that I was here and I was doing all these amazing things. So do
Mm.
this thing regularly so that you remember everything here. You remember what you are supposed to be doing. And remember, you keep in mind your direction as often as possible. This will be your guiding light. This will be your compass. You know what I mean? You need to be directed regularly. You need to be shown that, oh, this was actually happening. This is actually real. So that you don't forget and so that you are actually on the progressive. Now, if the greatest man to walk the face of the earth had to remind niggas to do this in remembrance,
To
imagine
forget.
how much more, imagine how much our generation needs to be reminded.
Fam.
You know what I mean? And we don't even bother with reminding ourselves or with being reminded. But I find that pretty amazing.
I've never looked at it like that before.
But he
Because
knew.
I'm like, I can't unknow this now. Like, oh,
Exactly.
you see something like, I can't unsee this. Like,
Yeah.
wow,
Now he knew. He
okay.
knew because he was with them at the crossing of the Red Sea. He knew because he was with them when they were kicked out of the garden. He knew because, he was with them when he made fiery chariots appear. And still, they'll cuss him out. They went to the point of just saying, let's just kill this one now. Bah! When I do this, look, do this in remembrance of me. The moment the dude is in trouble, me, I don't know that one. Except 3 times, I don't know that one. You forgotten. He was just from telling you in remembrance.
No, it's not me. It's not
No,
me.
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So human nature has always spoken for itself.
Hmm.
Um, that's the importance of faith. I feel. You know what I mean. Faith speaks directly to that. In that, it says, "I'm better than my human nature."
Is that
You
what faith says?
that's confidence. That's the confidence of your faith. We,
Oh.
if because look, given all these examples, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you know. But can you say that people in general are better than their human nature? Can you confidently say that right now?
No, no,
You see?
no.
But the substance of things hoped for, what are we hoping for? A progressive Africa.
Mm-hmm.
An Africa that actually builds and actually grows and is actually thriving. So that's what our hope is. And the evidence of things unseen. Have we ever seen a progressive Africa? No. Have we seen
Yes,
an Africa that's thriving, that's at its best?
have we
We,
seen
we've
it?
seen we've seen hints of progress,
Mm-hmm.
but have we seen like is that the we have not seen the Africa that we want to see is basically what I'm saying.
I get
Since
you.
birth, we've heard even is stories of the struggle.
Yeah.
The time when we've heard about Africa thriving, right, is Mansa Musa, 14
Mm-hmm.
1400s. Such a story, so way back.
But do you
You
think
see?
that's also because there's no progressive story coming out of Africa, or because we're so fixated on dwelling on our failures or other people's failures?
Um, we are a culture has been created.
Mm.
A culture has been created, and I don't even know how or where it popped up from. I feel, uh, and a lot of people say no because we play the blame game too much. For the record's sake, I'm not playing the blame game. I'm simply identifying and stating the facts. I believe we will progress. I believe we are headed the right direction. But the
Yeah.
facts are history was tampered with.
Changes.
It's no accident
Mm.
because dealing with the mentality like there's actually work that was put into making sure that we do think a certain way. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
True.
Yeah.
True.
And so it's very important then for us to understand what they did, how they did it, and
Mm-hmm.
then give it to the experts to say, how would you fix this? There's a reason why you went to school and studied psychology. The reason why you
Mm-hmm.
went to school and studied, um,
Mm-hmm.
reasoning and understanding, human reasoning and stuff like that, and whatever it is
Mm-hmm.
that. Um, so I was saying, just look at how they did the divide, right? You go into a ghetto like Soweto,
Yes.
signposts, all of a sudden you're driving on the roads are smaller, the signposts are small, the Tuma billboards are small, the stop sign is small, the Tuma lights are dimmer all of a sudden. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And this is where they pack you guys. They pack you guys. And they did it so, something like Soweto, it's one road in, one road out, because the
Yeah.
plan was eventually to bomb the whole place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So, and it's so small and it's so like this. And then the moment you go into the suburbs where these white people live and whatnot, all of a sudden the roads are bigger.
Yeah.
The
There's so much
signposts
space.
are bigger. Stop sign is big. Billboards
Mm-hmm.
are big. The lights are bright. You know what I mean? They're driving in
Yeah.
the road and it's a road. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Now, look at how that directly shapes and affects the thinking. Look at how you look at where you are from, the
Mm-hmm.
people where you are from. You know what I mean? And then look
Mm-hmm.
at how you look at the white man. On top of that, even the Jesus that he's giving you is white. Jesus can't
Mm-hmm.
live in the ghetto. Savior. No, no, no. He can't. Our salvation cannot be among us. It has to be with
Oh,
these guys. You know what I mean? You
that.
can't see salvation among your own people. So
Mm-hmm.
it's much, much easier to demonize, to hate, to tear down, to pull back. You would not even feel bad for tearing down and pulling down your own person. You would do that and think nothing of it. But let a white person get hurt. Oh my God.
Oh my
No,
God.
Billy.
But you know, one
Not
thing
Billy.
I can, one thing I can confidently say
Hmm,
or comfortably say is don't, I can't remember a time when that scenario has been a problem for me. Like where there's two people in a situation, as a black person and a white person, they're all going through the same thing, but
hmm.
because um, the white person is dropping tears and the other person and the black person
Yeah,
isn't, my attention now goes to the white person, or because they seem more traumatized than the black, or I drift that way. My
yeah.
initial reaction in such situations is always to check on the black person first.
It's
And it was
it's
something that I
important.
remember getting me into a lot of trouble at school, eh?
Hmm,
Because I
hmm.
used to have this music teacher. I'll never forget her, Mrs. Erasmus. I have no idea what she's doing now. But
Uh-huh.
when we were in school, in the music class, she would
Yeah.
always divide the students, right? She'd divide the pupils.
What's wrong with
And
music
you would
teachers?
see the back of the class was darker than the front of the
Uh,
class. So the blacks would be at the back, then you'd have
uh,
you'd have the Indians, the coloreds, and then the white people. And so there was this one time in class, it
were
made
you
no
at a
sense.
trust school?
No, but this was a school back in SA.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the primary schools in SA.
Yeah,
So this one time in class, I asked her, but why do you divide us like this? Why are we at the back and they're at the front? She
yeah,
plays piano. I don't know anyone in the front who plays piano.
yeah,
He's been wanting to play the violin. They don't. They just sing. So in my
yeah.
mind, it made no sense, and it got into
Yes.
this really heated discussion.
Oh
And
boy.
like the black students in the class, some of them were like, okay, okay, it's about to go down. Then the others,
Yeah.
some of them were like, just keep quiet, just keep quiet. And I remember because it caused such a ruckus that no one else was saying anything about this situation, or at least not saying
Yes.
anything out loud. So I
Yes.
get sent to the principal's office, and then my mom gets called to school. And
Yeah.
I think that was the first time I'd ever been in a situation where a white person had to apologize for their behavior to a black
You
person.
see?
For me, like I had
Yeah.
never been put in that situation. And from that point on, I have been um, very open
Yeah.
and very verbal about how I'm going to play my cards. Like I'm not going to give you a pass just
Yeah.
because you're white.
And most
It's
importantly,
offensive.
unapologetic.
Exactly. I'm not apologizing
Yeah.
for any
And I
aspect of my blackness.
yes, it's
Mhm.
very important. You know what I mean? And look, so you see, you're even speaking from the perspective of a white person, right? I
Mhm.
was at trust school. My music teacher, I don't know what's wrong with music teachers. My music teacher,
Uh-huh.
a new drum set came through, and I was one of
Mhm.
the first people to jump on it because I was playing drums at church. So when it came through, I was like, I can continue practicing and
Mhm.
whatnot, and we can start a band. So I even got my friend, dude, there's a new drum set in the school. Let's go check it out. I even
Mhm.
got on it and whatnot. And this dude hears me and he hears that I can play, right? And so
Mhm.
so it's all good and whatnot. And then the white boy in the school, well, one of the white boys, um, the one who apparently also played drums, comes through
Mhm.
one day and he jumps on the drum set and he
Mhm.
also starts to play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the following day I go there. I'm like, oh, with my boys, I'm like, oh, let's set up so we could play something.
Mhm.
And then this dude comes and says, the only person I can allow to touch these drums is David. I don't want to see anyone else. None of you should be coming here to touch these drums. David is the white boy. I only want to see David on these drums. I don't want more than one person. So only David should be on these drums. And you're a kid. At the time, I didn't even process this as like a black and white thing.
Mhm.
I think because you're so, as much as, I don't know. At the time, I'm just processing this as this dude just doesn't like me.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? He just doesn't like. But then, you grow older years later, and I'm like, that was just reverse racism. My dude
Mhm.
is in a ghetto. I'm his enemy. I'm
Yeah.
his enemy. He cannot see salvation in me. I would have
Mhm.
been more talented than white dude, but he can't see salvation in me. His
He
mind
can't
has
fathom.
yeah, mind has been shaped, programmed. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
so now, I'm growing older. I'm like, fuck that dude. You know what I mean? But I get him.
Mhm.
I get it at the same time. And so that's why I'm saying we're dealing with a whole mentality. This dude was doing this to what? 12-year-old me?
Mhm.
He didn't even, you heard a kid, they say. Yep, yep,
He
yep.
didn't see a child. He saw black and white. That's what he saw.
Exactly, exactly. And this is a black music teacher. That's so,
Interesting fact.
now imagine that's how deep that this runs.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Imagine the
Yeah.
sort of fixing that has to go into it. I
Mhm.
feel like when we see things like I was saying, Patson Daka, Enoch Mwipu, Fashion Sakala making
Mhm.
strides in the Premier League and in the Scottish League, and when we
Mhm.
see Dambisa Moyo on a world stage as an economist, and someone like Bill Gates feeling threatened by her books, saying her books are the devil's work. You know what I mean? Threatened, they
Mhm.
say, because the Gambian woman has got data for days
Okay.
on how aid is crippling uh, our progression. Uh,
Mhm.
when you see individuals like I'm running out of names. Uh, but basically, what I'm trying to say is we need to see more individuals who are performing at their best on world stages. Individuals like Sampa the Great, also an
Facts.
amazing young woman. You know what I mean? Just
Mhm.
killing it in music and in entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
On the world stages, that I feel is part of where the healing and the fixing begins. Because how can you demonize that? That's brilliance
Mm-hmm.
flourishing. You know what
It
I
is.
mean?
It is.
But apart from that, what really needs to go into it is actual reform, actual work, actual revisiting of policies, like I said, actual
That would be
revisiting of
great.
our systems, education system, all those things need the mechanics and spanners thrown into that. So that while that is happening at the top, even at the bottom, things have been covered. And it comes full circle, eventually. So, yeah, while there's like a way to go, we're
Oh,
headed there slowly. Huh?
slowly, yeah. We're
Yeah,
definitely headed there very slowly.
yes, yes. And as I
Yeah.
was saying, what we need to do right now is
Uh-huh.
populate Zambia.
That one, I'm not sure I agree, but I get you. But let's see where this goes.
Eh, I've told you,
Mm-hmm.
Zambia between now and the next 10, 15 years,
Mm-hmm.
Zambians need to fuck.
Okay.
Zambians need to make babies.
Uh-huh.
You and Nigel need to give us little gym babies, little,
Uh-huh.
little, you know, um, Nigel and Cherry, Nigeries,
Oh, wow.
Nigeries,
Wow.
Churchills. We need Churchills.
Wow.
Nigel and
Wow.
Cherry,
Okay.
little
I think I
Nerys.
like Churchills.
Which one? Churchill.
Churchills. Churchills. Yep.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
For anyone who's listening on the podcast, uh, these two have had the hugest crush on each other for the longest time. But all they've given each other is a wink. Yo, what's up? Yeah, cool. Yeah, all right, cool.
They haven't
That's
even
all.
given each other, like, I haven't even high fived the nigga. But anyway,
That's your slowness that you're even speaking to. You're very proud.
you know what? I'm marinating. That's what it is. I'm not being slow. I'm
Oh,
marinating.
oh my goodness. What are you marinating? What? The
I'm
moment
marinating in the sauce.
you,
The sauce needs to be just right.
the guy says, "That's my lioness." You are
But
marinating.
you know what? But if I'm his lioness, why hasn't he done anything? But you know
Huh?
what I've noticed with guys? Guys
Mm.
like to claim, but do very little about it. They're not that many
That's
guys that like claim and follow up. Like they'll claim like with their clique and with their squad and
with
whatnot.
with
But when it
with
comes to
with
step
all
up,
due respect. I
okay.
think I think because your generation is the Me Too generation, it has just made that has contributed to making things a bit difficult. Like everything is so sensitive now. Hey,
I can agree.
everything,
I can agree on that.
everything. Yeah, everything is so sensitive. I feel it has contributed. Not to make excuses for guys who now just want to be the ones who are being pursued, which I personally feel that should not happen. Man should always be in pursuit. But at the same time, issues around this generation of women has just heightened sensitivity. So even something that's supposed to be as basic as woman being pursued is not happening. It's not flowing the way it's supposed to a larger degree. I was even thinking around like even just the basic, like just the basics of where do people meet people these days, Cherry? Like in Lusaka.
I don't know. Like I can't remember the last time I went out to meet anyone. Like
Like
I
do people? Uh, last time I brought up Paint and Sip. Do people meet at Paint and Sip? Because it sounds like a place where couples go.
yeah.
Because I'm
It
definitely
looks
not
like a
going looking.
couples thing anyway. Like I've seen one
Yes.
happen. I've seen two
Hmm.
happen, but like I didn't go for it. I saw two happen, and it looked like couples and families. I was like, oh, this is nice.
You
So
see.
where do
But do you
us
think like single
ladies
girls
like?
will go there and then like guys will go there to like meet single girls?
No,
Because I
no.
mean, do you ever get to do you think did you see any chick seated alone, painting and sipping just alone?
I saw one alone, yes, but I don't remember her painting and
Ah,
sitting. I think it was on her phone.
progress, guys. Single girl spotted at paint and sip. Rush
The
there now.
single girls are everywhere though. But the thing is, we don't move alone generally.
Ah, you see,
I think it's
that's
very
the
rare to
thing.
find a single girl on her own, unless you're someone like me. Like I would go to a coffee shop or I'd go to a restaurant and I'd sit on my own. It happens very rarely, but I'd go and I'd sit on
You're,
my own.
yeah,
I'd
you're
have my
a
coffee
rare
on my
person.
own.
You're like your self confidence is through the roof. First of all,
Is it?
to a larger degree, you are a very self aware and self confident person. I'll
Uh-huh.
definitely give you that. Um, so and that's rare. People, I think people don't even understand how rare that is because we've confused posting a meme about how you're the baddest bitch in the game for an attribute towards your self confidence. You know these
Mm.
memes that going around where it's like I can easily just cut off 10 people just like that.
It's not
Okay,
that
sis.
easy. Okay,
Okay,
sis.
that's a meme. you you know you've got like a block list of what and you mistake that for self. Like no, like
Mm-hmm,
now in the
mm-hmm.
world, can you get up? You've been invited for a party. Go for a party alone and just hold it down. Hold your own conversations there. Meet new people. Hold conversations. Leave the party, and you know what I mean, right? Something as
Mm-hmm.
simple as that. I know you can do that. I don't know if like a lot of
Like
the average.
majority. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I hear you.
That's why
But
you're
then
saying
that
like
goes back to the whole thing that there's safety in numbers though.
the what safety from what first away from the sexual predators and whatnot. It's not really a safety thing, like you've said. This goes back to that thing where like on a date
Uh-huh.
you bring a friend when the date is just supposed to be between you and the guy, and then on top of that you expect the guy to pay. Sis,
For all of you. Yeah.
this is not
Okay,
a
I was
package deal.
foolish when I was younger. Shame.
You did that.
Once, yeah.
Che, you took a friend.
Yeah.
Ah, shame on you, man. Shame.
No,
Shame.
okay, but okay, for real
Shame.
though. I took a friend. I was young. This
How
was on the Copper Belt.
young is this?
And coming from Lusaka, you hear all of these things about Jeroboam and whatnot. I didn't
Mm,
know anything.
mm,
So I'm just like, fam, I'm
mm.
not going alone. So we're going together. If I die,
Okay, no,
we
that's
are dying. If I get
understandable.
whipped,
Yeah.
we're both getting whipped. So for me, it's a safety and numbers thing. And the
No,
friend
that
I
one.
took had a lot more self awareness than I did. I think
Mm,
she even probably still does more than I do.
mm.
So for me,
No,
like
that
I
one.
can rationalize that as safety in numbers.
Yeah.
Mm,
Now that one, I'll take with a pinch of salt. Copperbelt, especially at the time, years ago, was not the sort of place where you want to
no,
play those games. You don't want to. And
they're not
knowing
giving life on
Jerabos,
the edge like that. No, no.
knowing Jerabos, ngomno radio inch. Alam
No,
stira ci paia, de toreresha. Wacho te extra paia, but
you
piamo
don't
face
know
chapa,
what
tande
the
kono
copper
umno hod.
belt is. You need a
Hmm?
certain type of spine for the
Oh,
copper belt.
I'm
Mm.
telling you. For some strange reason, I've never been linked to being a copper belt boy until people like get to know me, and they're like, "You are actually a trash
Even
ass
I didn't
ghetto
know.
boy from the copper belt."
Even I didn't know. Like I think I
Oh,
only
for
realized it relatively recently that Jesse's from the belt. Which
real?
Jesse? That Jesse? No.
He's a belt boy, full
Yeah, you're
time,
not. You're
and
not a typical belt boy.
no, mm-mm. they the 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 etiquette sort of kicked in. I learned how to drink tea and have crumpets and whatnot, and how to say "jolly old chap."
You
Um,
should host master classes. That's what you should do.
pardon?
Have full on workshops. You should host master classes. Have full on
Um,
workshops.
reform,
Yeah.
reform classes for all
Yeah.
my copper brothers and
Yeah.
sisters. But so you see, that's the thing. Even a boy like Nigel, well, let me say a
Hmm.
gentleman like Nigel, um,
Indeed. Get right.
you couldn't you can't tell.
No.
He's he's so well mannered, even more well mannered than me. I don't me. I'm not even well mannered. Let's just
I
be
was
honest.
about to say, let's not do
Yeah,
that. No.
this, but he is actually well mannered. He's actually a gentleman. You know what I mean?
Well, let this
So
nigga shoot his shot then. I'm just saying, someone else is gonna shoot.
yeah, and then to be like, huh? You
Uh
see,
huh.
I I was planning on, uh this is
Yeah.
that come. I'm expecting a payment mentality. Hmm? Don't do that.
Yeah, that's what it is.
No, he's going to listen. He's going to listen to this because he's going to be the next one of the next guests. He's definitely coming on. Um, but yeah, you gym junkies definitely need to figure that aspect out. Um, I wanted to dive into the last bit, which is uh the whole yoga deal
Uh huh.
because we had touched on that before.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and we were breaking it down, especially yoga in relation to sex. That's
Mm-hmm.
like a pretty big deal uh, for those of us who are enjoying the lovely intercourses of life.
Oh, that's
Um,
so.
it's delicious. Uh, uh, but I basically was asking you questions around how, because yoga, the aim and purpose around yoga is to strengthen and build control over mind, body, and is it soul or spirit?
The spirit.
Spirit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Um, and that's part of the essence of yoga.
Mm-hmm.
And I was asking, with that in mind, knowing that sex is a mind, body, and spiritual experience,
Mm-hmm.
do you see the direct correlation between the two?
Between yoga and intimacy.
Sexual intimacy.
Yes, there is. There is
There is a
a there is a massive and I
mm,
think very direct relation between the two, and that's not because yoga is mastery of one thing. Yoga is
mm.
more of awareness than anything. So when you
Ah,
say mastering, you're thinking more of controlling or being in control of something,
yes.
whereas awareness is you being alive to one thing, like you know that there's this and there's that, but you're not letting any of those things control the narrative or direct
Damn.
the narrative. So being aware is allowing yourself to be present in any form of situation in spite of and
Mm,
despite of.
damn.
So if you're looking at it from a physical point of view, like I the fact is I'm a big girl, right?
Hmm.
But am I going to but the challenge now comes in where I am allowing myself to be big and allowing myself to be all of these other things aside from big. Like big is a box, yes,
Hmm.
but it doesn't mean that it's a square box. I could be
Damn.
big, I could be flexible, I could be big, I could be open minded, I could be big, I could have massive endurance. So you see, you're in a box, but this box isn't square. You're in a
Yeah.
group, but this group has room. So when you are aware of your body, when you're aware of your mind, when you're aware of your spirit, when you're aware of your heart,
Yeah.
you're able to be more um, submerged in this intimate moment. And it's like when you realize that all of these things come into play, you
Hmm.
are more forgiving. That doesn't mean you're pacifying or you're complacent, but you're more
Yes.
understanding to other people's levels or to other people's layers. and
That
giving someone the energy or the room to be vulnerable, or the room to be all of those layers of themselves in
yeah
your presence or in your energy, I think translates into a level and a form of intimacy that you can't get any other way without
yeah.
awareness of oneself.
That's almost as poetic as it is factual.
I know,
You know
right?
what? Yeah, it's really beautiful actually. Um, and damn, first of all, just breaking down awareness. The simple
Mm-hmm.
fact that um in sex, right?
Mm-hmm.
Overall, if you're not aware, we hear women say simple things like say there's a difference between rubbing the clit and stuffing a chicken. That's what men have to understand.
Yep.
That that
Yep.
that that ties into things like awareness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
being aware and awareness and empathy.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's almost like they go hand in hand, right? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's almost like this person being stimulated and feeling good about this
Mm-hmm.
it should also make you feel good about the fact that they're feeling good. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And what makes them uncomfortable should make you uncomfortable. If
Mm-hmm.
anything, and we won't stray into this, but it also starts to venture into layers that sort of tie into consent. That's a whole other discussion. But
Mm-hmm.
I feel it does venture into that. But for this right now, so I wanted to simply break down the fact that the better you get at being a yogi,
Mm-hmm.
the more aware you become, the better you can be as a lover in a relationship.
Oh
And the simple fact that there's levels to being a yogi, right? Like you progress in it, you
yeah.
can
Mm-hmm.
also progress sexually. Is
Mm-hmm.
there an end? Like, is there like a top tier? Like, you know how you got like a black belt yogi, uh, karate? Is there like a black belt yogi?
You have yoga gurus, yes. Those are
Mhm.
teachers. Those are people who've been teaching or studying or practicing yoga for close to 10,000 hours.
Hmm.
Or is it 10,000 or 50,000? 10,000. To become a master at
Hmm.
something, you
Oh
need
yeah, yeah,
to be consistent with it with 10 hours, right?
yes,
For at
yeah.
least 10 hours. So the same applies with yoga teachers. You get to guru level, I guess, when you have been doing this for over 10,000 hours.
Okay.
There's some schools of yoga that believe that it's progressive, yes, but you can only be considered a guru when
Hmm.
you have um, experienced tantra,
What's that?
or tantra. It's how to explain tantra. Tantra is it's a I want to call it a frequency of existence, simply because I don't know any other way to put it.
Frequency of existence. Okay.
Yeah. Like, you've got vibes, you've got vibrations, like you can tell off
Yes.
people's vibes, but there's some people that you connect with, or some people that you meet and you're just like, okay, but you're on another level.
Yeah.
So when in yoga terms, when you reach that point where you're operating on a different frequency. I don't want to use things like third eye or stuff like that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
so
Because we
the
scare
easiest
the
way, so the
Christian
easiest
brothers
way
and
I
sisters.
can, yeah, I don't want to be called a heathen or anything like that. Um,
Yeah.
so the simplest way to put it is, you exist on a different frequency. You're still very present,
Hmm.
but the things that move you, or the things that drive you, are not the things that will drive an average person. So
Average person. Yeah.
exactly. So when you're a guru, you're more concerned about, or not really concerned, but your focus is more amplifying your existence in relation to a whole bunch of things. So in relation to the world, in relation to yourself, in relation to other people.
So this goes back to what you're saying about awareness. The presence or the absence of whatever is going on externally
Hmm.
does
Hmm.
not affect you directly. It's
Yeah.
like the discussion where we were saying a dude who's smashing lights on, lights off, or let's say two people who are making love, lights
Hmm.
on, lights off.
Yeah.
It should not really matter. But
Hmm.
for certain people, it does matter because it then makes it awkward. Like the whole sexual experience is awkward when the lights are on. It's like, ah, snap. Now I
No,
have
it's
to look her
no,
in the
it's
eye.
real awkward in general. Sex is an
Yeah,
awkward
yeah,
thing
yeah. We're
to
saying it's
experience.
yeah. We said
Yeah,
the
yeah.
whole experience is awkward, right? Like it's funky
Hmm.
smells
It's
that
funky
you shouldn't be
sounds.
smelling when you're eating your chicken piece at Nando's.
Yeah.
If you randomly caught a whiff of a dick, it's like okay, this is
Is that
awkward.
is that a
But
new
in
spice?
that moment, wow,
I mean, you never know. Maybe it's a vegan thing or a
just
keto thing. Like, did you sprinkle some
dick
vajayjay on
spice.
this thing?
Just
The
that
coochie
cannot
sauce?
stop
Like, what
being
is
fun.
this? This is good.
What?
We should try that. Go to Nano's and ask. I'm sorry. Can you smell that? Is that a new season? We should try. We'll
Is
either
this a
get
keto
kicked out
smell?
or a free meal.
Is this a keto smell?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
just this is wrong. Is this a new vegan spice? No, it's actually vagina.
Oh wow. Okay, but is it vegan? Is it
a little
keto?
bean in there. We throw in some bean spice.
Is it carb free? Like, what is this? Break it down for me.
Well, it has two leaves that
Oh,
we
okay, okay.
uh,
Yeah, that definitely makes it vegetarian.
bean leaves definitely you're vegan
Yeah,
bo.
yeah.
Yeah, ati there's a rap bar ati ndine vegetarian kuligero ni maji yako cheka beans.
Wow.
How
I don't know
deep is
whether to
that?
applaud or to be like, just what
Don't
happened?
upload, don't
Who
download,
hurt you?
don't load.
Just listen and move on.
Just move.
No,
Move. So my
just
next
listen.
mixtape, yeah, I'll buy that. So my next mixtape. Um but no, back to this. So um I just wanted to bring it full circle. Um
Hmm.
in this is we need another we need to pod again because now we were going to break into um yoga and faith, which is a beautiful discussion. But we'll keep that for the next one. If you whoever is listening to this one, if you've enjoyed it this far, you're definitely now going to have to listen to the next one because we're going to break down yoga, faith, and more
Hmm.
sex. But just so that we close this one up.
Woo!
Yeah, what else can we talk about, dude? That's really the
Because it's
topic right there.
midnight. That's all you talk about at midnight.
You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, um, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so overall,
Hmm.
the more aware you are, the better you communicate.
Yes.
Because that essentially is what's going on. It's communication. The bodies are communicating.
Yep.
Um, does and this is my last question. Does that communication that we see progressing from yoga into sex also progress into communication, let's say verbally between a couple? Let's say
Yes.
verbal communication, because that's a very important aspect of communication in any relation.
Yeah.
That's the most fundamental aspect of communication in a relationship. Does
It
it
depends
progress
on the
into that?
communication, but it can translate into
I mean, yeah,
verbal
translate. Yeah.
communication. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, but the tricky part there is for it to translate effectively. I think it has to be something that both parties are practicing or both parties are aware of. So Like
Mm,
maybe
mm,
husband and wife, right? Or even boyfriend and girlfriend, right?
yeah.
Maybe only he is the one doing yoga and
Mm,
she isn't. And I've
mm,
phrased it that way for a reason. So maybe in terms of communication, she might be struggling with something,
yeah.
or he might be struggling with something because he has the knowledge of being present and being aware and being empathetic, because he knows how that works. He
Yeah.
is patient with her and how she needs to communicate.
Mm,
And because
mm,
he's patient, he's receptive when she does communicate. Like he can pick up when she's communicating. As
yes.
um, and it would go the same way in that same scenario. Like she
Yeah.
then, if she's also practicing, or if she is even just respectful of the fact that yoga is something that he practices, she will
Yeah.
allow him to give her the space to be ready to communicate. You know what I mean? Like
Mm, yeah.
it's not a pull and push thing where I need you to talk to
Yes.
me, you aren't talking to me, you're walking away. You can understand that,
Yes.
okay, there's something going on with this person, they need to walk away. Or there's something going
Yeah.
on with this person, they need to verbalize 1,001 different things before they get to what it is
Mm-hmm.
that they need to say. It's
Yeah.
understanding where you are, respecting where they are, and
Mm,
acknowledging that at some point, if both of you are genuine in
yeah.
whatever it is that your goal is, you'll meet. You'll
Yeah.
meet at a certain point where she'll communicate what she needs you to hear, but you'll be
Yeah.
patient enough to wait.
That's beautiful.
And I phrased it like that because oftentimes it's the woman, even without yoga, you'll hear that the woman, no, just wait, he'll talk to you, or just wait, that's just how it
Yes.
is. Or the guy is so used to removing himself from a situation as opposed to talking
Yes.
about. So I've
Exactly.
flipped it like that for a reason,
Mm,
to say that it's okay, even without yoga, it's okay for a guy to be patient with his woman, and
mm-hmm.
for the woman to remove herself from the situation before, until she's ready to come back and say, okay,
Yes.
this is what was going on.
Yeah, let's deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's so solid.
Hmm.
Um, dude, we've run the clock on both sides again because I feel I'm going to have to call join this one to the previous one. But Cherry, as always, amazing conversation. Uh, this is the first of many.
It
Yo,
has
it's the first of many.
it has to be.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I refuse to be a
Um,
one hit wonder.
of course, we
Hmm.
can't allow that. Nigel can't
No,
allow that. Um,
absolutely not.
uh, so, dudes, this is Shock the Clock. I'm not even sure what episode it is, but it's the episode with Cherry, and that's what's
Yes.
important.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
until we come back next time, Cherry's going to crash now. I'm
I'm
still
going to
up.
black out.
I mean, I've got graft to do, Buddha.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
much graft. I have to be. I have to be.
I want to be
Um,
like you, grow
yeah, you already are. I'm learning from you. I'm learning from you, dude. I'll check you out on the flip side. You take care.
Yes,
So
sir.
much love. Bye
It
bye.
was fun. I'm not even gonna lie. We're
Yeah.
definitely doing it.
Now we're doing this again very soon.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
You
I'm gonna go
take care.
black out.
Okay. Peace.
Cheers.